Hello, hello, and welcome to Light Sprinkles. I'm Spring Ulrich, your host, and I am here to offer you inspiration, healing tips, and tools to spring your life forward. And today I'm talking about managing energy, managing my energy, managing your energy during all of the things that happen in our environment, in our world, and being able to still be really authentic and real and still feel your feelings and be with your feelings and how to do that journey in a beautiful way that is honoring of yourself, honoring of your experience, allowing yourself to feel all the feels and to be able to really show up in a powerful way, and not allow yourself to be completely sideswiped by the emotions, and how to harness and get in out in front of the situation and not allow it to just completely bowl you over or take over your entire experience. So today I had the experience of going through that roller coaster in my day today. I started out my day really powerfully and in setting my mindset in a way that was really positive, feeding my mind those positive, juicy things that keep me on a higher vibration and keeping that positive outlook. I was listening to Tony Robbins' challenge, day 4 today of his challenge that he has going on right now. And I was listening to that, and it was getting me all pumped and excited and just in a really good mental state and space. And so I was feeling really good and really just I was having a lot of really great feelings because of what was going on outside. I was feeding myself that really good, juicy fodder for my brain to really catapult me in that positive direction. And then as my day was going on, I did my journaling and my journal work, and I found myself having a conversation with my wonderful and loving mother-in-law, who has actually adopted me as her daughter-in-law because my now husband was also widowed, and he had lost his late wife, and her mother is still with us. And so she's a part of our family and my son's maternal grandmother. And we just love each other. And I was able to talk to her today. And I live in Washington. She lives all the way on the other side of the US, on the East Coast. She lives in New York. New York, New York. And so she's right in the middle of the epidemic. And here's the kicker. She's immunocompromised because she has a I think it's called prolific lymphoma. Anyway, it's a variation of leukemia. It's not leukemia. It's kind of a branch of that. Anyway, she has cancer and she's dealing with that right now. And she's dealing with it so far away, and she has no other family in the United States. We are her only family, and she has a lot of people in her network to be able to support and care for her. And it still is really difficult because we have we can't just go over and find out if she's okay. I can't just go knock on her door and show up and see how she really is and see her eyes and see her in person to see how she's really doing. And so that's really difficult because I don't feel like I can really show up for her in powerful ways physically, because she's just so far away physically. And I couldn't get a hold of her. I called her several times. I had actually, this time I was actually ahead on schedule and had sent her a birthday present early because I was off on her date, but at least I was early, not late. And I was calling her and saying, hey, did you get my package? Did you get your gift yet? And I was leaving her messages, and I had left her 2 messages, and she doesn't usually not call me back. I mean, it might be a little bit of time, but she usually calls me at least within the day. And it had been several days, and I'm going, wait a minute, this isn't right. And I know she's dealing with cancer, and I know she's been, she's gone through a lot of chemotherapy and different things such as radiation. And I know she's been dealing with a lot. And so of course I'm concerned about her, and I don't know really how well or not well she's really doing. So I'm thinking, oh my gosh, what if she's dead in her apartment? Well, who am I going to call? I don't have anybody's number, any of her friends, really her contacts. And how am I going to find out if she's okay? So today I decided I would try her again, and I called her, and the phone rang and rang and rang, and finally she answered. Oh, thank goodness she answered the phone. And then she proceeded to tell me the sad news today that she was having problems with her vision again. And had happened before about a year ago, where she was having a period of time where she was essentially blind. She couldn't see much. She could barely see, just kind of shadow and light and dark. And they did some surgeries on her eyes, and they got her to a better vision state. And she was able to see and function better again, I mean, just that tragedy alone. It's one thing to have to go through cancer. It's a whole other thing to then be dealing with the loss of your vision and your eyesight. And for me, that is just the ultimate, oh my gosh, like I just value my senses so deeply that that would be a trauma and a tragedy, a huge loss in of itself, to not have my vision, because I so value it, being a photographer and an artist. And just we use that so often. And I know there's so many people in our world today that function and who are blind and who have been born blind, and they have an amazing life, and it still can be a tragedy. You know, I'm not minimizing or saying that someone can't have an amazing life or have a fulfilling life without their eyesight, but that would be such a huge loss, especially having that ability to see, and then going through the trauma of just the cancer itself, and then dealing with your vision and feeling isolated and alone during everything that's going on in the world, and not feeling like you have family to support you or someone there to be able to assist you in finding your way, and just figuring out how you're going to cook and find your way to the bathroom in the middle of the night, whatever it is. It's just, my heart is so deeply saddened for her in so many ways, that I feel like I can't be there to assist her. I can't be there to rescue or help her and give her more support than we're already giving from afar. That, just ends up being a financial way to be able to send what we can financially to support her. But other than that, she's adamant that she wants to do her experience, that she has her support system, and she doesn't want to burden us, and she refuses to come live with us. So I can only do so much, and I'm at a loss there of what to do and how best to support her. And so that was heavy on my heart today to hear that, and just made me really sad. So I went from being really, woohoo, I'm high vibe and I'm going to totally rock my day, and I'm going to just go for all these things that I'm doing in my life, and I'm going to really move forward, and I'm going to take care of all these tasks. And then I got to have a 2-hour conversation. And in that conversation, I realized that she just needed to talk, and I just got to be there to listen. And even though I had all of these things to do and all of this stuff, it was important just to show up for her and to listen to her. And as she talked more and more, I realized how positive she actually really was, in light of everything she's experiencing, in light of everything she's going through right now. She's amazingly optimistic and positive, and even used the words, I'm not complaining. What can I tell you? And she's got a beautiful accent. She's originally from Brazil, and so she speaks English and lots of other languages very fluently. And she's just a beautiful woman and can tell stories like nobody else that I have seen. She can just paint a story and really have you there. So I did really a whole lot of listening, and in that I just realized how much tragedy and trauma and loss she's in the middle of in this moment right now. I mean, she just had surgery. Her vision stuff started happening about 2 weeks prior, but she didn't actually tell me or share the information with me. But needless to say, she had just had surgery yesterday, and she's still recovering. And yet here she is telling me a story, and she's not just talking about, I mean, yes, she went over some things and some things that were difficult and some challenges she's facing and going through. And she didn't just dwell on it. Yes, she talked about, having difficulty in getting tasks completed, and how she's having a hard time getting to her groceries from, when she can't go to the store herself and she has to have friends show up and serve her in that capacity, and they don't get the right items, and just all of the things that she's going through. In that, I recognized how much she still is such a light and such a delight. She really just is still truly being herself in trying to be as positive, trying to be as optimistic as she possibly can. And I just was blown away, because I would be really, really, I just know I would be really emotional and full of fear and being scared of not having my vision, going through the experience. And I know this is, even though it's the second round that she has been going through with her vision and having the loss of her vision, it's still a real potential that, because this is the second time, they may not be able to reattach and fix the issue that's going on within her eye. And especially with the hemorrhaging she had on her eye. And anyway, they're not sure if she'll need one surgery or two surgeries on her eye, and if it's going to actually recoup any vision at all, if any of it. And so there's that real possibility that she may not get it back. So I just look at that and go, wow, would I be that optimistic and positive if I was experiencing that? Because I know when I have a hard time, seeing, or I know before I had LASIK eye surgery, I would get really grumpy if I couldn't see. If I didn't put my glasses on and get going, and I had a hard time seeing far away and seeing the clock or faces really clearly, I could recognize in myself that I would start getting really grumpy if I couldn't see well, if I had not had my glasses on for a while, and it would just start to really put me in a bad mood. And so I can imagine that it would be really difficult not being able to see, not being able to get my eyes to function, and to be able to do my daily tasks, and how frustrating that must be. And yet here she was having a conversation with me, and she was having a conversation, and yes, talking about how things were challenging, but that she was managing it, she was getting through it, and she was doing it so beautifully and almost so seamlessly, that she was so prideful in that she is going to do this herself, and she's determined to live on her own, and she's used to being on her own, and that she's capable, she's able to do this. She's refusing the doctor's request to, even though it's at no cost to her, to have a home aide to come in and help her do her grocery shopping, her light duties, and be able to, say, go to the pharmacy and pick up things. She's choosing to utilize her network and her friends, because she's been so used to being isolated. And she says, I just can't deal with people. I'm just used to being on my own. And she's very, very proud in her capability of being able to still have that real independence, and how important that is to her. And it just blows me away that in light of it, she's still being so positive. And I just wanted to share that with you today, because it was really, as sad as I was for her, and as deeply triggered as I was, because of course it's somebody that I deeply care about, and it's, again, dealing with cancer, and I've dealt with cancer before with my late husband, and he passed from cancer. So this is not my first rodeo, and yet it still triggers me in a way very deeply, that it can feel very much like my hands are tied, and I don't know what to do for her, and I don't know how to fix the problem and show up more powerfully with her. So that was my trigger, is that feeling of helplessness, like that I can't help her, and that feeling and that sense of that lack mentality, that lack of feeling, that just helpless, that hopeless feeling started coming up. And of course I recognized it, and I was feeling it. I allowed myself to feel the emotion, but also being conscious of where I was at and how I was feeling. And I recognized that I went from being super high to all of a sudden taking that dive. Oh wow, like I'm recognizing that, wow, I'm really going down in my energy. And how often in our lives do we look at things from that perspective of whatever's happening out there is how we're allowing it to shift us. And that is the key, is how to get our mind and our heart in that alignment so that no matter what's happening outside of ourselves, that we can maintain our energy and that we can continue to keep it in a vibration. And that's not saying to ignore or to not be empathetic or not be real and authentic with your feelings, because that's a really important part of life that helps guide us to the directions that we need and get to go, and how to it's a great feedback mechanism, right? The problem is, and the issue is when we get stuck there, or we're not conscious of that that's where we're going. And it's nice to be able to be in a space now where I can recognize it faster and not just get into a spiral and stay there and not know why I'm feeling so miserable, or not know why I'm feeling such a lack of energy, or feeling depressed, or feeling that down energy, and not recognizing where it's coming from. And just being able to look at the experience and just go, wow, like I recognize I'm triggered. I recognize that, yes, I'm feeling huge compassion for this beautiful woman that I love and that I adore and I don't want to lose. And recognizing that right now there's not a lot that I can do physically to show up for her. And even asking her, like, how can I best support you? What can I do? And she says, nothing. Unless you're a doctor, you can't do anything for me right now. And so that was really the truth of it, that right now she needs to be around her doctors and around her support system that she already has in place, and around the experts that are supporting her in her journey right now. And taking her out of that experience would be tragic in of itself, and a huge upheaval of her life that she's used to and she knows how to function in, to try to get her and all of her stuff and then transfer doctors and try to find a team and a staff that is as knowledgeable and expert as the ones that are in New York, because I'm here in an area where it is much smaller population and our hospitals are not necessarily at the same caliber. And it would be a lot of travel just to get her to the right places and people in in a larger city. So I'm in a much smaller city, and it would be a very different experience, and her access would be different. And that's just the reality of it. So there are some barriers, and just and really truly she said no. So and dealing with that emotion too, of feeling like I want to help, and then that, how much do I push for it? How much do, and she's a grown woman. She gets to figure out how she wants to do it. And it's not in my control. I'm not the one who gets to decide how she lives her life, how she's going to get to choose to live her days, and how she wants to do her journey, because that would not be okay either. She gets to have her freedom and her choice, and I get to just support her no matter what it is, whether I like it or not. That the best way I can support her is in her decisions and how she wants things done. And that can be huge for anyone going through a tragedy, a loss, or a trauma, to be able to really let them do it in a way that works for them, because I don't necessarily know what's best for her. Only she knows what's best for her. And that's the same thing for you. Only you really truly know what is best for you, and what resonates, and what's really going to work for you, and how you're going to go through your loss, your grief, your trauma, or your experience, and what things are going to light you up and assist you in getting back toward a more alignment and a stronger, more powerful position, and being able to ride those waves, right? Being able to, when life is coming at you, whether it's, hey, this is a really good and juicy experience, and then all of a sudden, bam, something takes you out of that juicy experience, and all of a sudden now it's frustration, anger, upset, or really deep, sad news that comes up, whether it's coming from the radio or the news station, or, your Facebook feed. And all of a sudden you're realizing, well, did that feed my energy? Did that make my energy go up or make my energy go down? And how do we maintain our energy and our vibration, even when the stuff around us is not where we want to be? It's not necessarily a positive, uplifting experience. And what I know is when we can just be real with what we're feeling and how it's triggering us, and look at it in a conscious way and go, wow, I'm feeling really sad here, And yeah, it's uncomfortable. And yeah, I don't like it, but I can still hold space for someone. I can still honor that, but not let it just take me down and stay there. That I can be with that emotion. I can be there for that person and listen and be empathetic and compassionate for them, and also not just stay in that emotion. I can feel the feelings. I can move through them and not stay stuck or not suppress them and not just ignore them, but I can be with them. I can allow them and recognize where I'm at and get conscious with them and say, wow, this is how I'm feeling today. This is how I'm feeling in this moment, and recognize in the next moment, how am I going to choose? Okay, I'm feeling this sadness and this, wow, I'm really feeling low, and my energy is feeling low after this conversation or after hearing this news story, and this makes me feel really sad. Recognizing it and then say, okay, how am I going to move forward, and how do I get back to a higher energy level or higher, what do I want to create next? How am I going to choose to move forward in my next moment? Am I going to choose something that's going to feed my thought and my mind with more love, or more desperation and more negative thinking that's going to continue that helpless and hopeless feeling? Or am I going to continue to look for things that are the gifts of the situation, and how wonderful things are happening, even though there's this tragedy happening? It's just like Mr. Rogers when he said that his mom always said, you'll see tragedies happen in the world and in your life. And when you do, look for the good people, because there's always going to be the good people. So look for the good people. And in this particular story that I'm telling you about my mother-in-law in New York with cancer and losing her vision, I'm looking for the gift, and I'm still looking for what is good in it. And that is that she's still in the midst of it, having a positive attitude, as positive as she can possibly be. And she's still maintaining herself and her strength and her drive for life in light of all of it. That she is, even said the words, I'm not complaining. And she has a lot to complain about. And even if she had a little bit of complaint going on, sometimes we need to offload. Sometimes we need to be able to use our voice to be able to air it and let it go, and just have somebody hear and understand where we're at. And that's okay too. But just not to get stuck there. And that's the beautiful thing. And that's what I witnessed in her, is that she didn't just get stuck there. Yes, she talked about some things that were difficult. She was being real with where she was at. But she didn't just stay there and continue to say the same story over and over again. She told me other stories and different stories, and stories of her past, and stories of her late husband, who was amazing and had similar attitudes about how he didn't want to be trouble, and how she's very much of the same opinion on her experience and how she wants to go about meeting the end of her life. And she just was real and authentic, and still just wanting to be happy. And she is so funny. I mean, this woman is hilarious. When you listen, if you ever got an opportunity to listen to her tell stories, she can just make you laugh. And she really and truly, when she talks to me about her stories, that she goes into the doctor, she teases them and says, doctor, I'm not here to pick up on you. I'm not here to go on a date with you. And she says just the funniest things to the doctor, and makes jokes to the doctor, teases with them. And she's such a delight. She's so much fun. And I just love that about her. And to be able to look at people and find the things that you love, even in the middle of tragedy, even in the middle of things that are happening that are bad news, sad news, upsetting or trauma news, that what is it that we can look for? How can we look for the good people? How can we look for the helpers, the people who are doing good, and the people who are helping, the people who are maintaining that dream and the vision of something better? And those are the things to reach for in the middle of that moment when you feel like you're not able to get there to yourself. Reach for anything that you can that will bring your vibration up. If it's an awesome song that can pump you up, if it's a YouTube video that's inspiring, if it's a piece of literature that is really positive, that will feed you really good things to shift your mindset, to shift your mood, and to give you a little bit of hope. If it's calling a friend and just asking them to support you and to maybe laugh with you Is it watching a funny movie? Is it watching some cute puppy videos? What is it that you can do to not just get stuck in that low experience? And yeah, there are sometimes we need to just be in it. And sometimes that it's going to take a little bit longer to just give yourself that time to express and to feel and move through all the emotions in a trauma or in a tragedy. And it's not just going to take some puppy videos and some comedies to get you completely through it, but it's a start. And it might give you that little breather to give you that little bit of hope to get you to the next moment and then the next moment. And then you might hit another bottom, but then getting back up into that next moment where you can give yourself that little breather and help you just raise your vibration a little bit and raise it a little bit more so that we're more on an even kill to try to maintain that energy level and keep it at a more juicy and vibrant experience. And that is what I wanted to share with you today. My experience of going through being at a really happy and joyous experience, getting some sad news, riding that wave, and then recognizing where I was at and choosing to continue to look up, to reach forward, to reach up and to bring up my vibration and recognize, hey, how can I maintain my energy and have it really be truly mine and be able to be stable and balanced within myself no matter what's happening around me. And I know that that's not an easy thing. It takes practice. Anything that we want to get into and be better at, it takes practice, right? Mastering anything is just from practice. So I hope that this has served you and assisted you in taking a look at your own life and seeing how it might assist you in springing forward a little bit more in some areas in your life. And I am so appreciative of you tuning in and listening. And I would love to hear what you have found useful today and what you are going to try on. And you can find me at lightsprinkles.com. That's LIGHTSPRINGKLES.com. And I'm Spring Ulrich. And again, you can find me on Light Sprinkles on YouTube and Light Sprinkles on podcast. Thank you again for tuning in, and I look forward to our next episode. Have a beautiful day, and just keep on sprinkling love and choosing love. Bye for now.